Day 2 of our 5 days of riding on the island of Tenerife. Heading out to do yet more climbing after yesterday's, well, video, if you saw that. But quick summary, we did the massive sea level to 2,200 meter climb to the top of the volcano. That was 35 kilometers uphill. Today we're doing a similar route, or it's the same way up the climb almost, to Villa Floor, but we're going to do it from a couple of different angles. Oh, we've got a tailwind up this climb. You've got to really make sure that you eat and stay on top of things when you're out here in the heat and long days, particularly when you're going uphill, because you don't really, you're not covering much distance, but you're covering a lot of time and you don't realize how much time has actually passed. So yeah, I'm probably on about 80 to 100 grams of carbs today per hour, and getting that in with a 50 gram gel. Oh, that was a tasty effort. So here we are. I think Granadilla, that's where we've come from. Am I saying that right? You don't pronounce the double L? Granadilla, Granadilla. We've come up from there. It was about a 9 kilometer effort. I thought I would get in 25 minutes, probably around about 320 watts, 310 watts. So it's like a little high tempo, low sweet spot block. I felt good, so maybe I'll do another one later on in the ride. We're only 2 hours in, so still fairly fresh, still feeling good. So yeah, I'll ride back down now and meet the group and ride up with them.
Can of worms? What are you going to say? That naked.
So after doing that effort, I feel a million times better. For some reason, well, I'm sure you can relate to this, let me know, but like when you fly somewhere, you get a little bit of fatigue, like you've been sat down on a plane for a while. It's just a little bit like, you know, you get like really bad legs from it, I feel. And one of the things I learned, and if there's any aspiring like pros out there, young riders, if you can travel well, like if you can deal with the travel, if you can sleep, if you can not get sick, all these things, like it's something that's not really talked about, but if you can handle the travel well, you could be a good pro, like you could be a good athlete. But saying that applies to everybody, because you know the lads want to get a good ride in, good field rides in out here. You want to try and stretch out, you want to do a bit of a leg loosening ride first, you want to make sure you get a good night's sleep, especially if you're going for an early flight, things like that. And I know it's a holiday but you do want to make the most of the time on your bike, and just thinking about those small things, you know, can really boost your enjoyment. And I feel like today, after that effort, I've opened up a bit and I feel good now. I feel good. Well, back at Villaflor for the second time today, and second effort done as well. That was up the steeper ascent. So essentially what we've done today is we've like ridden out like to the furthest climb that you can get to get up to Villaflor. We've done that. That was like a 5% climb for like 10k or so, 13k. And we descended back down because it was such a great climb. It was awesome descent as well. And then we hooked a right at the bottom. We retraced our route back along sort of the balcony road. And then we've come up a steeper side, which is 10k at probably more like 7%. There's some really steep sections, like 14%, 15% for a couple hundred meters. So I'm gonna ride back down, although I don't think I want to do the steep bits again, but I'll go and do it anyway. That doesn't happen very often. My kilojoules is matching my elevation.
Recognise the voice.
We've had our second cafe stop of the day. Coffee. I had 2 carrot cakes today. And they're very nice actually. And then we're climbing to the top of TD again, the way we climbed it in the last episode. Because we want to go up and come down this descent. And that'll finish us for the day probably. And it's been a good day. We're over 3,000 meters of climbing probably. Can't complain about that. A couple of the other guys have cut it short, but that's the good thing about these routes. Up this side of Villaflor, you can do as much or as little as you want. You know, you can split the climb up. You could do more. You can go all the way to the top like we're doing. You can just turn at Villaflor and have like a 15-kilometer descent back down and call it a day. And it's really good for different abilities as well. You can do that, still ride together for the majority of the day and then split up. But yeah, saw some pro spotting again. We saw a load at the cafe. Luke Platt, I think Chris Harper was there. We saw Michael Matthews yesterday, so obviously a lot of the guys from Jacob Alula are here. Matt White was there as well, Whitey, getting the coffees in. It's always curious, you know, looking at pro riders training. You know, they all have different plans each day. To see 3 of them sat at the calf there, you know, you could tell Plapp had a gilet on. He was probably going to descend a bit more. You know, Harper, I think it was, you know, that was his training done for the day, and he was coming back up this way, the way we're going, and he was just going to ride up the next hour to the top, probably to the hotel. But yeah, they all came up from different sides to Villaflor, as if, you know, they were all doing different training, different efforts. You know, they're not all necessarily training together, and, you know, they're getting what they need out of each day when they're here. Oh, I need a bit of a break. That's been quite tiring today. Yeah, quite tiring. Tried to do an effort there at the end. Oh my word. Altitude is a killer. Absolute killer. 1,800 meters at altitude. When I decided I was going to do an effort to the top, but I miscalculated. I thought it was only like 2,100 meters to the summit, but it's actually 2,200. So I started going, and I was probably over pushed at the beginning. I was doing more power than I was doing on the earlier efforts today, but those earlier efforts were done at like between like 700 and 1,500 meters above sea level, whereas like this effort was done at like 1,800 meters to 2,200. And it'd be interesting to see. I'll put it on the screen, the difference between the two. My heart rate monitor's packed up, so but I was definitely a higher heart rate, I can tell you that for nothing. But like, curious to see if like in my head it was definitely harder, and it will be because we're later on in the ride, we've burnt more kilojoules, things like that. But the elevation just changes everything. I can already feel myself here, like still struggling to actually talk and catch my breath at the same time from the effort, which ended like 10 minutes ago. So yeah, it's like when you come out here and you ride, always be aware that like if you're starting to climb hard, like you're gonna fatigue anyway, but the elevation is gonna like accelerate that massively, especially when you get over that, like they say when you get over like 1700 meters, give or take, that's when you start like, you know, feeling it. So bear that in mind. But that was solid. Downhill to finish now, that's the beauty of it, all downhill to finish. And just like that, we're back. 45 minutes of non-stop descending. Unreal.